every single dream. I lay each one down at your feet. Every moment of my wandering never changes what you see. I've tried to win this war, I confess. My hands are weary, I need your rest. Mighty warrior, king of the fight, no matter what I face, you're by my side. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. Truth is, you know what tomorrow brings. There's not a day ahead you have not seen. So in all things be my life and breath. I want what you want, Lord, and nothing less. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. You are my strength and comfort. You are my steady hand. You are my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. Your ways are always higher. Your plans are always good. There's not a place where I'll go you've not already stood. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. I will trust in you. Ways are always higher. Your plans are always good. There's not a place where I'll go you've not already stood. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the letting go of every single dream. I lay each one down at your feet. Every moment of my wandering never changes what you see. I've tried to win this war, I confess. My hands are weary, I need your rest. Mighty warrior, king of the fight, no matter what I face, you're by my side. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. Truth is, you know what tomorrow brings. There's not a day ahead you have not seen. So in all things be my life and breath. I want what you want, Lord, and nothing less. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. You are my strength and comfort. You are my steady hand. You are my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. Your ways are always higher. Your plans are always good. There's not a place where I'll go you've not already stood. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. I will trust in you. Ways are always higher. Your plans are always good. There's not a place where I'll go you've not already stood. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the letting go of every single dream, I lay each one down at your feet. Every moment of my wandering never changes what you see. I've tried to win this war, I confess. My hands are weary, I need your rest. Mighty warrior, king of the fight, no matter what I face, you're by my side. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. Truth is, you know what tomorrow brings. There's not a day ahead you have not seen. So in all things be my life and breath. I want what you want, Lord, and nothing less. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. You are my strength and comfort. You are my steady hand. You are my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. Your ways are always higher. Your plans are always good. There's not a place where I'll go you've not already stood. When you don't move the mountains, mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the letting go of every single dream, I lay each one down at your feet. Every moment of my wandering never changes what you see. I've tried to win this war, I confess. My hands are weary, I need your rest. Mighty warrior, king of the fight, no matter what I face, you're by my side. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. Truth is, you know what tomorrow brings. There's not a day ahead you have not seen. So in all things be my life and breath. I want what you want, Lord, and nothing less. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. You are my strength and comfort. You are my steady hand. You are my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. Your ways are always higher. Your plans are always good. There's not a place where I'll go you've not already stood. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. I will trust in you. Ways are always higher. Your plans are always good. There's not a place where I'll go you've not already stood. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the letting go of every single dream, I lay each one down at your feet. Every moment of my wandering never changes what you see. I've tried to win this war, I confess. My hands are weary, I need your rest. Mighty warrior, king of the fight, no matter what I face, you're by my side. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will try. trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. Truth is, you know what tomorrow brings. There's not a day ahead you have not seen. So in all things be my life and breath. I want what you want, Lord, and nothing less. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. You are my strength and comfort. You are my steady hand. You are my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand. Your ways are always higher. Your plans are always good. There's not a place where I'll go you've not already stood. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. I will trust in you. Ways are always higher. Your plans are always good. There's not a place where I'll go you've not already stood. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the letting go of every single dream, I lay each one down at your feet. Every moment of my wandering never changes what you see. I've tried to win this war, I confess. My hands are weary, I need your rest. Mighty warrior, king of the fight, no matter what I face, you're by my side. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. Truth is, you know what tomorrow brings. There's not a day ahead you have not seen. So in all things be my life and breath. I want what you want, Lord, and nothing less. When you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. You are my strength and comfort.
Lord, I see what the commentator is trying to say here. But is that really what you want me to say? So sometimes you just have to just go with it, don't you? Now, as we know, the book of Job starts out in the first part of the book of Job, chapter 1, starts out, there was a man. So that tells me that there was a man, that Job was a living, breathing, real person, and not just some, made-up story like Hansel and Gretel that is supposed to give you a good meaning, but it didn't really happen. As far as I can tell, Job was a real, living, breathing person that lived and breathed and walked on this earth. Kids went down already if you wanted to go down. Oh, good. Yay. So, excuse me. I do apologize up front because I've got this little nagging stuff going on like everybody else. Got this sinus drainage. Hey, lady. Got this sinus drainage going on. So if I get choked up, please just look over that, and I'll do my best not to. So we start out here, and Job he's answering one of his buddies who was trying to help by telling him all of the things that he had done wrong, and that's why God is punishing him so badly. Now, as we know, Job was a very wealthy man. Several offspring, thousands of sheep, a lot of land, a very respected man. And if you kind of read between the lines, I was led to just kind of assume that he was born into this, that he didn't necessarily make it all himself, but that he was born with a lot of good things. And we'll see some of that here in what I'm going to read today, but it just leads you to believe that his whole life he has been okay, and that God has blessed him for most of all of his life. So we start out here, and like I said, Job had a lot. And he lost it, literally all of it, and just in a very short span of time. His children died, his stuff was stolen and taken, and he then fell into a sickness of boils and hurting and just incredibly ugly sickness that he had. The Bible tells us that he would sit and scratch himself with shards of pottery. I've had some eczema in my day that itches to the bone. Poison ivy, I'm reminded of poison ivy on steroids, that just absolutely has covered his body, and he just hurts so much, and he's just sitting scratching with little pieces of shards of pottery just to get a little relief, and it's all over him. And he's sitting outside, he's in sackcloth, he's in ashes, he's trying. He's begging God, what have I done? Show me what I need to fix. So then 3 friends show up. And they tell him that, Job, you're such a hypocrite. Job, you're such a terrible person. Job, the only reason God would put you in this kind of predicament, I used to speak English before I started teaching high school. God put you in this predicament because of your sins. You've done things to people. You have, in fact, this is what he's going to answer today. Eliphaz told him, you have wronged the widows and the poor. You've not fed the orphans. You've misjudged the people who used to work for you. So God took it all away from you. And Job is looking at this, and he's trying to think in his mind. See, because they sat for 7 days and didn't say a thing, and then they finally got tired of sitting and just commiserating. So they started pointing out all the bad things that they think Job has done. So now Job is starting to answer them here. And we pick up right there in Job 31, verse 13. It says, if I did, let me try that again. If I did despise the cause of my manservant or of my maidservant when they contended with me, what then shall I do when God riseth up, when He visiteth, and what shall I answer Him? Job is displaying here a mindset. He is speaking from his understanding. His friends told him all the things that he had done wrong, because that was their understanding. God takes care of you when you do good, but He really punishes you when you do bad. And as we were studying on Wednesday night, Job answered one of those claims and said, what about all these rich guys that are miserable humans? They're mean to everybody. They take what doesn't belong to them, and God leaves them alone. They prosper their whole life, and then they die peacefully and lay in the ground. What about that, old boy? And then he's continuing to counter the arguments, because see, Job understood what his three friends didn't. His three friends were looking at this life in the, if you want to say basically, a really basic analogy is a Jewish mindset of, if God is happy with you, He's going to reward you. And if He's not happy with you, He's going to whack you. So if you're getting whacked, you did something against God. That was their mindset. Now Job, on the other hand, was looking at this, trying to figure it out, because as we look back at the very first part of the book, what did God say when He was bragging about Job? Have you considered my servant Job? He basically said, there ain't nobody like him. He's perfectly walking in my ways. So God Himself had already testified to the universe that Job was an upright and a righteous man. But his friends, with their limited understanding, tried to make him think like they did, that, hey, maybe I have done something wrong. I'm sure. And just from my mindset, whenever something bad happens, I go looking at how it happened. God, what did I do? How could I got a flat tire. How could I have avoided this? Oh my word, I must have sinned, and I'm getting punished because I got a flat tire. Isn't that really simplistic? No, you got a flat tire because you ran over a nail. And it has nothing to do with your sinfulness. It just cause and effect. When a sharp object pierces a rubber tire, it goes flat. Not a punishment from God for your sins. Now, some things, admittedly, yes, God will get you attention one way or another. Tap on the shoulder, a still small voice, a 2x4 to the back of the face, whatever it takes, God will get your attention. If you are His child, He wants to correct us. But that's not the case with Job. Job was not being punished, see. Job was being tried. And there's a difference. We get punished when we do something wrong. We get tried to make us better. Tried is a word that is used in silversmithing and goldsmithing and manufacturing of metals. Tried means to take the impurities out and have only the gold left. And the rest of the stuff you throw out. It separates what I'm after, the gold, the silver, away from the dirt and the rock and the junk. So when we have trials in our life, and we will, as Christians today, we will have trials in our life. As Christians today, we'll have some punishments too. But Job was not being punished, he was being tried. And he recognized that after thinking it through and realizing that I've done everything that I can physically, humanly know to do. I've done it. So he says here, what in verse 14, what shall I do when God rises up and when He visiteth? What shall I answer Him? He's saying, I recognize that the way I treat my servants is a direct reflection on my walk with God. Have you ever worked for a man or a woman or a person or an entity that just really appreciates you? That when you walk in, you kind of look forward to going to work. Or you kind of look forward to going and putting out the labor. When I was growing up, we used to work on hay fields around in the community. That's kind of the way that we had spending money. There was no such thing as an allowance, but you could go and work your own money out. I always looked forward to going just over the hill to Mr. Schrader, because Mr. Schrader would pay me like I was a man, even though I was just a kid. And he would tell me, if you work like a man, I will pay you like a man. And when everybody else got $20 for working for the day, I would get $20 for working for the day. I looked forward to working for him. Some of the other folks around, you go to work for them, and they would pay you like a child. Here's your $5, and here's your daddy $25, and here's your uncle $20. So, you know, you didn't so much look forward to going to work for them. That's kind of the way Job's attitude was. He had this mindset to look at everything that he has said through the whole book and through the rest of the book. He had this mindset of take care of people. He had the mindset of love those that have nobody else to love them. Take care of them that can't take care of themselves, because God takes care of me when I can't take care of myself. And oh, by the way, in Leviticus, we're supposed to do that. The law tells us to do that. The law tells us that are wealthy to take care of those that can't take care of themselves. In particular, the three groups: the widows, the orphans, and the poor. Right? The folks that just can't take care of themselves. They would, but they just can't. See, in this time that this was written, if you were born into kind of a poorer family, you could pretty much figure that that was what you were going to be the rest of your life. There was no great rise to glory like we can do in this nation. There was no, I won't say no, because that's kind of a blanket statement and we know better than that, but there was very little opportunity to rise above. Now I could point to Joseph and say, well, there's Joseph, right? Joseph started out in a pit and ended up in Pharaoh's house. So yeah, you could move up. But not always, right? So with Job, he was refuting now. And he was saying, I understand that God holds me accountable for what I do to people. Verse 15 says, did not he that made me in the womb make him? And did not one fashion us in the womb? As I look at America today, I'm really discouraged sometimes. I see the far left screaming things like, my body, my choice. And I see a lot of times in high school, I see several young ladies that have a choice to make. And they choose to follow the easy way, if you could call it easy. I've talked to several young ladies that have followed the easy way and have regretted it literally for the rest of their life. I can't think of a more helpless person than a baby in the womb. No control over anything. Whatever mama eats, they eat. Whatever mama drinks, they drink. Whatever mama smokes, they smoke. They have nothing. Job is making reference to the same God that created me in my mother's womb, created the poor, the maidservant, the manservant. They were all created by God. Psalms 119 tells us that. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, right? And that my soul knoweth well. You saw me in my mother's womb. You knit me together in the dark place. And it just boggles my mind for people today to say, that's just a clump of cells. That's just a clump of cells. That's not really a person. I'm very proud of our young ladies that see the worth of the gift that God has given them. Spoke to a man one time, and I'm getting a little off the lesson here, but I spoke to a man one time who said, you know, I don't know my daddy. I've always heard him referred to as the rapist. But I am alive because my mama made a choice. And, you know, I'm going to move on. Did not one fashion us in the womb? Did God not enable this? Amen. Moving on to verse 16, Job is still answering accusations. If I have withheld the poor from their desire, or have caused the eye of the widow to fail. He's answering these accusations that Eliphaz, is that his name? Am I saying that right? Did I get the right one? Anyway, one of his friends had made this accusation that he was mistreating people. That's why he was being mistreated. And he is answering them. If I have ever withheld the poor from their desire, that is, if I see a poor person that needs something and I haven't given it to him, or have caused the eyes of the widow to fail, if I have known that a poor widow needed something and I haven't given it to her, if she was looking at me as her hope and I let her down, if that widow was looking at me begging me for anything and I didn't give it to her, I've caused her eyes to fail, maybe to cry, but I've let her down. He said, if I have ever done that. Verse 17, or if I have eaten my morsel myself alone, and the fatherless hath not eaten thereof. If I have ever eaten from my bounty and not given it some to the orphan, the fatherless, the one who can't do for himself. If I in my piety and my self-security am sitting here stuffing my face, and the homeless or the poor or the orphan is going hungry, he goes on to say in verse 18, and this is why I think, one of the reasons that I think that Job was born into a wealthy family. He says here, from my youth, he was brought up with me as a father. And I have guided her from my mother's womb. Now he's talking here, in my mind he's answering these two things about the widow and the orphan. Excuse me. As I was reading through my commentary, I look at different translations, different scriptures. The Revised Standard Version, let me see if I wrote this down here, says, it's on the wrong side of the page. The Revised Standard says in verse 18, for from his youth I reared him as a father, and from his mother's womb I guided him. Now that threw me into a tantrum for a while, trying to figure out and reconcile, is it his or hers? Because it can't be both. We know that. It's his or hers. So I think that in my mind, I've kind of got it where I'm leaning to the King James, because he's answering two things, the widow and the orphan. And what he's saying is, from my youth, he was brought up with me. So from the time that I was young, we were taking care of orphans. He was brought up with me as with a father. He was brought up with me. I take care of the orphans. I have my whole life. And it goes on, and I have guided her from my mother's womb. As long as I can remember. Now obviously he was not born today and started guiding a widow, but as long as he can remember, he's been helping the widows. That translation seems to have it. As long as I can remember, I've done right by the poor, widows, and orphans. They know they can count on me. I'm reminded that we have to really look at the translations of Scripture that we use. There's some translations of Scripture that are dead on, that are good to go. Okay? There's some that we need to be very careful with, and there's some that we just need to stay away from altogether. So I'm not going to get into that, but I want you to consider those things. You know, when you're studying, study. Don't take it for granted that just because this is written down that it's of God or from God. You know, they wrote down the Quran, and that is far from God. So don't be deceived by just words on a paper. Go with what the Spirit tells you. The book says to try the spirits, doesn't it? That there's going to be a voice in the back of your head that says, this is the way that you should go. Walk ye in it when you go to the left or the right. But anyhow, as long as he can remember, Job has taken care of the poor and he's taken care of the widows. Verse 19 says, if I see any perish for want of clothing, or any poor without covering, if I see anybody that, if you can show me one person who died because they were naked and not clothed and I didn't do anything for them, or any poor without covering, if his loins have not blessed me, and if he were not warmed with the fleece of my sheep. Job is saying here that every time he saw a need, he tried to fill it. He said here, even with the fleece of my sheep, the Bible gives him credit for 7,000 sheep. That's a lot of wool. And he had to give. And he did give freely of what he had. He recognized that when God gives us plenty, it's to share it with those who don't have or don't have as much. Those who don't have anything. You know, there's folks that are easy. You know, that's easy. Yeah, I'll help that one. But then you look, there's some others that you say, that one just needs to get a job. That one just needs to go to work. That one just needs to put down the bottle. They're still in need, and we are called to help them. Oh, that one's in jail. Lord, when did we see you in jail and didn't come and visit you? What did he say? If you've not done it to the least of these, my brothers, you've not done it to me. If you have not done it to the least of these, not the best, not the most politically correct, not those that are right and we know it, but those that are wrong and have no defense, we still owe them a visit to tell them about God, to tell them about the way out of this mess that they're in. Maybe not to get out of prison, but to get their life out of the prison of sin. The way that he's talking here, it almost reminds me of the way that, you know, it's kind of easy to spend other people's money. Just look at D.C., right? Look at Washington. They love to spend my money for me. And they will do things with it that just has no concept in my mind how that ever came to be a thing. But Job here, he was spending money like Congress, but in the right way, in my mind. I'm seeing him look at people who don't have anything and taking care of them. But not just taking care of them. I don't think that Job is that person who went over here and just did a handout. Here you go. I feel better about myself now. Here's some alms. Now you keep begging. Good luck. I could see Job as the kind of person who said, hey, guy, I see you're out of luck. You're an orphan. You got nothing. Won't you come work for me? Won't you come, let me give you a little bit of dignity and some money so that you ain't got to beg. You can earn it. I'll give you a job. See the difference? That's the way, when I think of Job, I can see him doing stuff like that. Now, somebody's going to tell me about this. Tommy, you are really reading into the Scriptures. Perhaps. But Job, in all of his words and the way that he says it, it just sounds like something he would do. That he would rather give you a job than buy you a meal. Isn't that old Chinese proverb, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, teach a man to fish, you'll never see him again because he'll be on the lake? That's not exactly right, is it? Teach a man to fish, he can feed himself. Verse 20, he goes on to say, if his loins have not blessed me, and if he were not warmed with the fleece of my sheep. If his loins have not blessed me, if he's not warm and he's thankful to me, if he was cold and I covered him up and he's thankful to me. He continues on. If I have not done this, then we're going to look on. Verse 21 goes on to say, if I have lifted up my hand against the fatherless when I saw help in the gate. If I have lifted up my hand. You've got, there's all kinds of scripture about that, how the Lord lifted up his hands in judgment, how Solomon judged, how such and such would lift up his hand and pronounce a judgment. Kind of reminds you of, think about pastors, preachers, when they're baptizing somebody, the hand goes up. When they're at a wedding and they're pronouncing, dearly beloved, right? Your hand goes, it's like a pronouncement from God. Sometimes I find myself just in the middle of a song with my hand up. It's like, where'd that get there? But you know, it's like there's a pronouncement. And if I have lifted up my hand against the fatherless. You kind of think about, you knew you was in trouble when Mama's hand went like that, didn't you? Yes, because you know she's not about to scratch her ear. You know there's a backhand coming. And yeah, sometimes it reaches 2 or 3 back. You don't know how she did it, but it hit. Maybe a ring or something flew off. But there was, you know, when that hand goes up, to hush. And that's kind of what we're looking at here. If I have lifted my hand against the fatherless, push him back, smack him back, knock him down, the orphan, when I saw my help in the gate. So there's a couple of commentators that have said different things about this. Help in the gate, okay? Again, with Job in my mind being a wealthy man and having prominence, people would come to him for advice. And maybe they would look at him and ask him to judge between them. At the gate is where a lot of judgments happened. At the gate is where a lot of instruction happened. At the gate was where you settled some disputes. You know, me and my brothers got an alt with each other, and we're going to take it to the people. We're going to the gate, and I'm going to plead my case. He'll plead his case, and there we'll get it settled. A couple of commentators have said that when I saw my help in the gate, sometimes when you went to the gate to settle a dispute, you took your buddy with you, took Guido along, in case you needed a little backup. In case they brought somebody bigger than you, then you had 2 to go up against him, see. That's some of the commentators are saying that even though I knew I could get away with it because I had backup, I still wouldn't abuse the homeless. I still stayed with what God told me to do. And then he goes on to say here, if I have done all of these things before, if I have wronged my manservant or maidservant, if I have wronged the widow, not fed the orphan, kicked him out on the street, if I've been mean to anybody, if I've done any of these things that you're accusing me of, then, verse 22, let my arm fall off from my shoulder blade, and mine arm be broken from the bone. That's kind of harsh. If I did do any of those things, if I picked my hand up against an orphan or a widow, break it off and throw it down. Shatter it on the ground in front of me. That's how confident that he was. That he had kept what God had told him to do. That's how confident that he was. He was asking then for God to judge him. If I have done these things, let God judge me. Isn't it amazing to know confidently enough that you have done what God has asked, that you ask him to judge you? That's kind of scary. A lot of times, what I pray is, God have mercy, because I know I got that wrong. My intentions were in the right place, Lord, but I'm pretty sure that I messed that up bad. Job here seems to be saying, God, tell me, did I get it right or not? That's confident faith right there. And that's before the Holy Spirit. Let my arm be broken off. Pull my arm off and break it in pieces in front of me. 23 says, for destruction from God was a terror to me. The Bible tells us the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. It tells us the fear of the Lord brings knowledge. It tells us the fear of the Lord, the respect of God, the respect for God, I should say, is the start of our being wise. Job says, I wasn't afraid of God. I was terrified. I know, I understand the majesty of God, and it terrifies me to the bone. I think old Moses, falling on his face. You think of all of the old prophets, the folks who were before God, the priest that was about to go into the holiest of holies. You think he didn't fear God? I fear God, but tie that rope around me just in case. He was terrified of God. And you don't get that way by getting caught. It's not a terrified of, I'm walking in the woods and there's a mountain lion behind me. It's terrified in, I know what God would do to me if I did that. I don't want to do that because I'm doing this out of love. But if I did do that, I know what God would do to me. So I surely will not do it. It says, I'm doing it because I want to, but I know if I didn't, I'm terrified of what would happen. The destruction of God is a terror to me. And by reason of His highness, majesty, holiness, I could not endure. He's saying that if God raises up and judges him, that he couldn't stand against him unless he was right, unless he was doing what God had asked him to do, unless he was following the laws, the Levitical, I'm saying that all wrong, the laws to the letter, with the spirit, not of, I'm going to follow the law, but I want to follow the law. You know, we have different ways that we follow God today. We follow God to stay out of hell. It's fire insurance. God, I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do because I don't want to go to hell. That's one thing. You know, that's one consideration. It's almost like not cheating on your spouse because you're afraid of what they'll do to you when they find out. That's one way of doing it. It meets the letter of the law. But then there's that intentional. I don't want to mess up. I don't want, we'll use that same reference, I don't want to cheat on my spouse. Not because of what they'll do, but because I just don't want to. I don't want to do that. I love them too much. I follow God. Because I'm afraid of what He'll do to me? Because I just love Him that much. I'm reminded of mothers. I'm reminded of my mother that would do things for me because she loved me. Breakfast, lunch, supper, all the things. Sewing my clothes. Not because it was required. Not because there was a religious leader somewhere with a big stick standing over her saying, why aren't you doing this? Same reason a lot of dads go to a job and do the work, even though maybe it's not the best job I've ever had, even though maybe I don't enjoy this. But my family needs some money. My family needs me to step up and be the man that I'm called to be. So I'm going to do this. Not because I have to, because I want to. I'm not going to wait on hope that the government will take care of me. I'm not going to hope that somebody feels sorry for me. I'm going to do it because I love them. Isn't that what God has asked of us? What is the greatest commandment? Right? Love God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind. What did Jesus say? The second is likened to this. Love your neighbor as you do yourself. If you love your neighbor, you're not going to have to be told, hey, they're hungry. Because I know when I'm hungry, my belly makes these funny rackets. Miss Yvonne pokes fun at me. When I'm hungry, I eat. If I love my neighbor like myself, I'm going to feed him. When I get cold, and I get cold a lot. I get cold a lot more now than I did 5 years ago. You will rarely see me. Miss Yvonne, she says, all right, old man, get your house robe on. I've got this big jacket that I wear around the house. And the thermostat says 76 degrees, and I'm still chilly. And she says, yeah, it's not 90 degrees yet, Tommy. Get your jacket on. Sits right by the couch where I sit down there. I sit down, I put my jacket on. I say, yeah, all right, old man. But if I know that for myself, what about these folks that are, not as fortunate? Do I love them as I do myself? Do I help them just because I love them? Or do I wait for God to make me feel guilty about it? You see, there's a subtle difference there. There's a nudge of, oh, that person could use some help. God bless you. And then there's getting woke up in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, guilty. How come you didn't help that person? You'll never see him again. Can you imagine what they're going through right now while you're at home in your warm bed? What are they doing? Don't know, do you? Because you didn't stop to find out. I would much rather, having experienced both of those, it's a whole lot more of a blessing to just reach out. Like the pastor said so many times, put yourself out there. God will give you somebody. If you're willing, somebody's going to fall in your lap for you to be a blessing to. And it could be something very simple. And it usually is. Because it starts out simple, you see. God's going to see if you're willing to be faithful over a few things so that He can make you what? Ruler over many? If we're faithful over a couple of things, then God will bless us. Not prosperity gospel either. Following God's urging is a lot easier on me. I don't know, maybe it's different with you, but it's a lot easier for me to follow God's urging than to respond to His whippings. Okay? It still gets done, but my blessing is not a blessing as much as it is a whooping. I'd much rather have a pat on the back from my daddy than a belt. Same thing happened, but my blessing was a pat on the back. And I didn't have to feel guilty about not doing it the first time. I've got so many more notes, but I think that's right where we need to be. So I'm going to hush. And does anybody have anything that you'd like to add to the lesson this morning? This is where I learn.